Hey, what's up? Happy Wednesday. It's Money Shots. Megan is still gone. Filming Barstool's Most Dangerous Game. I have no idea where she is. I have not spoken to her. Completely off the grid. I would love to get some inside info, Cheah, regarding who's going to actually win that one. The man, the myth himself, you. We know how good you are at game shows / challenges / whatever the hell you want to call these reality moments that we put together over at Barstool Sports. Do you have any insight? Maybe if I agree to participate in the future, what's the thought process here?
It's a good question. So Pat, who is also in the show, was talking to me about just what his strategy was going in. I think the best strategy is just lay low and kind of see where the chips fall in the beginning. You don't want to be the person that's voted off first usually ruffles the most feathers. So just don't be that person and then see where things go and kind of where you fit and try and have strong allies. And I think that's like your best case, but it's so hard to predict because you don't really know what's going to happen that first day. I would try not to stand out too much, but also I don't want to be the worst. So just be somewhere in the middle and be neutral, be friendly to people and nice, and you should survive. And then,
Interesting. Be more methodical down the stretch.
Ideally, yeah. I was a little bit guilty of when I did it, of being a little bit too boisterous too early. And I think that's a mistake that I could fall prey to again, to be honest.
I can't remember which show it was that you were on, and I'm like, you guys are idiots. I was like, if you do not get rid of Tommy Smokes right away and Stephen Cheah right away, I have no respect for you. Nobody listened to me, of course, but that would be probably my first move, is to get rid of the strong silent type. Just do the reverse of what you just said. Figure out who those guys are. Now we're going to get some insight into the NBA. Cheah, another winner last night for both of us. You hit a nice little two-teamer. I had a nice, I would call it almost a rocking chair under in the first half. I was like, this is going dead under. Got a little spicy in the second half over at the Barstool Sportsbook. The live line just got a little too close for my liking, but we did get the cash. And that's kind of how I've been viewing this NBA playoffs, being really methodical, trying to be super selective. Every single night that I bet more than one game, so the other night I bet 2, 1-1. Every single time. I think finding my best play and just sticking with that is what's working for me. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. I've got one of those for tonight. But first, tell us what your props parlay is over at the Barstool Sportsbook.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy too, because I hit my play last night. And then I felt pretty good about a play that I would have done later had a few alternate lines not been available. And it was Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both over 27.5 points. Durant had a horrendous shooting night, finished 2 points shy. They pulled him a little bit early just because the game was getting out of hand. So, yeah, I think sticking to one play, your most confident play of the night, should do well as long as you're putting in the time to research it. And that's what I've done tonight. That's what I do every night. But tonight I feel pretty good. The Knicks, I'm a Knicks fan. Their backs are against the wall, so are the Warriors. So I like those teams a little bit more. As far as props, I do like the Knicks tonight. Point guard Jalen Brunson. He's the heart and soul of the team. I would have probably liked Julius Randle over 9.5 rebounds, but the comment after last game about the other team just wanting it more, I feel like he's either going to have like 20 rebounds tonight or 4. And
I'm going to stop you right there. As a Knicks fan, what does that make you think? Like, okay, this team is quit. When you have a player that is not your best player, but he's a top 3 great player on the Knicks, say something like that. What does that do for your fandom? And how, this is the question I asked on Twitter, how do you quantify motivation? I mean, the Knicks should absolutely be motivated tonight. The line has gone in their favor from 3 to 3.5, even though all the money's coming in the Heat. But I'm still afraid to bet the Knicks tonight because of what he said.
Yeah, and he's been with the Knicks not a good playoff performer at all. So it's not like you're going to be like, oh, well, he had an off game. Let's hammer him to have a good bounce back, because that's not – he's shown historically that's not how it works with him. So he's a huge variable tonight, as, you know, taking my Knicks fan hat off. And as a prop bettor, I'm shook now, because it's like, all right, well, I was going to bet on this guy because he's the team's leading rebounder in a series that – outside of last game where he still cleared his number, you know, was getting 12 boards, 14 boards. So that's, if I see that at 9.5, I'm going to hammer that. But based on his comments, I don't necessarily know that he's going to respond positively. I think he will. But again, that goes to your point. Like, how do you quantify like the psychology of it, the mental part of it? He's a tough one because he was booed. He had a tough year last year at MSG. He had a really bad series against the Hawks 2 years ago, and he was booed, and he took it out on the fans. And there's photos and videos of him booing the crowd while he's on the court. So I don't necessarily know. I think he's going to get support tonight because the team's back is against the wall, and I don't think booing our second best player is really going to help the team. But I also can't for certain say that he's going to respond in a positive way as far as the prop betting market. So I want to steer clear of Julius Randle tonight. Before those comments, Julius Randle double-double or Julius Randle over 9.5 boards would have been a hammer play tonight. That's not the case anymore. So we went with Jalen Brunson. So he is the heart and soul of the team. He's the best player in the team. Incredible free agent acquisition over the offseason. I like him a couple of reasons. And one is consistency. Two, he performs better at home in a lot of categories. The team's back is against the wall. This is a guy who I know is going to show up. So I like him over 3.5 rebounds. That is a number he's hit in every game this series. And then I also like Jalen Brunson over 22.5 points. Now, I like these for a few reasons. The number one reason is injuries. Their backup point guard, Emmanuel Quickley, who is a finalist runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year, he is doubtful tonight. He's only missed 2 games this year. But in the last game, game 4, that he missed, Jalen Brunson played 44 minutes. They didn't really take him out of the game. So I like Jalen Brunson to play a ton of minutes tonight. So let's take a look at Jalen Brunson's numbers when he plays a ton of minutes. When he plays a ton of minutes, 40+, he's hit these numbers, 4 boards and 23+ points in 11 out of 13 games. It's about 85%. So I'll take that as good data to place this bet tonight. It's plus 105 when I put it in. It's probably floating right around even money right now. I think it's a great value, especially with the Knicks in a must-win spot.
I would have to agree with the Brunson points prop bet. I mean, listen, if the Knicks are going to put something together, it would be tonight, obviously. Yep. Do or die situations are always tough because not only do you have the Julius Randle comments, but this must win or the idea of a must win game, which both games are tonight. Both series are are 3-1. It's kind of one of those tough things for me in terms of that. Again, I would love to back the Heat here, but the Knicks look like the right side. I like using Jalen Brunson in that spot because, again, he's one of their best players, and he's going to have a stellar performance if the Knicks are going to win or cover this game. All right, next one up.
Wait, one more thing on that, Kelly. Got to get on the Jalen Brunson boards. Jalen Brunson at over 4.5 boards is plus money. I'm tempted to take that as my single play. This guy, the least fun, there are 2 of the least fun bets you can bet on as a prop better. It's center assists and point guard rebounds because a lot of times it's just not happening. Like Marcus Smart was a bet last night over 2.5 boards. He doesn't have his feet in the paint. He's not getting the ball unless it bounces his way. Marcus Smart has cleared 2.5 boards in 24 of his last 25 playoff games. He's going to find the ball eventually, and that's what happened last night. Jalen Brunson, similar thing, but this guy actually puts his feet in the paint and will grab boards. The fact that he's been at either 4, 5, or 6 boards, I believe, in every game this series. I think 4.5 at plus money is pretty good. I like the parlay a bit more, but I feel pretty safe about him getting 4+ rebounds.
And the good news is you're going to be watching the game so intently that if NBA Stats does not get it correct, you are going to tweet them until they do. You guys,
not on my watch.
The best part about Cheah. He's got your back. Like that is, as I've mentioned before on the show, in my previous life, I did a lot of work with the NBA, and I use a lot of different sites and things like that. But I've never had anybody go to bat for my bet before, especially in terms of a prop bet. So love that you guys have Stephen Cheah on your side.
That's what you get if you bet with me. I will back the prop. So last night we had to fight and claw for a Marcus Smart rebound in the 4th quarter with 5 or 6 minutes left. And it got overturned. These are the things, additional reasons to bet with me on the Barstool Sportsbook. I am going to bet for you. And I promise you NBA Stats is seeing these. They get a lot of engagement.
It's too funny. I love that for you, but I hate that for whoever's running that Twitter account. Every single night, those are the tweets that pop up. Cheah just hammering at NBA stats. Good for you, though. Again, fighting for those. The bet with you at the Barstool Sportsbook. Let's go on. Golden State up to 7.5 at the Barstool Sportsbook. Total 225.5. This one's an interesting one. I did not expect to see the Warriors here kind of with their backs against the wall, if you will. I'm sorry, with the Lakers with their backs against the wall as they took a 3-1 series lead over the Warriors on Monday night. Now, if they can close out the game tonight, albeit, but man, Golden State has been so good at home, 13-5 against the spread this season, in the postseason last couple of years as well. So it's been one of those interesting things here. You had this Lakers team that we were down on all year long, Cheah. They had to limp into the playoffs. You got AD questionable. You got LeBron in and out of injury. But man, they have been playing their asses off, especially as underdogs. We kind of saw it last night with the Sixers. They weren't dead yet. I have to kind of wonder if 7.5 isn't just a little too high here. I'm not going to be getting involved with the side. I'm going to be getting involved with the total, which I'll get into after we hear from Cheah. But this is a tough one. Again, what we saw last night, we saw two sizable favorites. One lost outright, one got the cover and the win. I just, these must-win type of scenarios, or to close out the series, it's a given. You lay the big chalk. I feel like it just never comes to fruition for me.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game for sure. The defending champs are on the ropes. So is this a game where they can pull out? A couple of props that stood out to me. Right now, it looks like we've had either an injury or something being updated. Though a lot of Warriors lines have been pulled, but I did see them before. So Draymond Green, if his number is 7.5 rebounds, which is what it was earlier today, I like that number. He's going to be the starting center. Kevon Looney has been moved to a bench role. So they are, starting Gary Payton II, it looks like, or Dante DiVincenzo if he can't go, because I know he got injured last game. But Draymond Green's a starting center. Kevon Looney has been reduced to a bench role. 8 boards is a pretty good number for a starting center. He hasn't been super consistent with it, but there's not a ton of data just because Kevon Looney is typically the starter. So if Looney is on the bench, and I'd make a late call on this because I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Kerr switches it up, but I'd make a late call on Draymond Green over 7.5 rebounds. And then another one is Jared Vanderbilt. So I mentioned him the other day. He's the Lakers forward, and they put him on Steph to start. He does a pretty good job, but his minutes have been decreasing. I believe he played 11 minutes last game. I think he played 6 minutes in the first quarter and 5 in the third, and that's it. So he's going to start halves, and he's not going to play the second quarter. His number is at 4.5 points. With alternate lines, you can get that up to 5.5, and I think that's a much more favorable number to take the under, because they are going to leave him open to shoot threes. But what the Lakers have figured out is that they can put in Rui Hachimura, or they can put in, Lonnie Walker, or they can put someone else who can shoot a lot better than Vanderbilt, so teams don't just completely leave him unguarded, and that's their offensive shot. So I don't anticipate him to play that many minutes. I'd put him at probably about 11 to 13 minutes or less, in which case I feel like you give him a 3-pointer and then, one more bucket. If you can keep him at under 5.5, it was minus 137 earlier, which I know is a decent amount of juice, but I feel like that's a pretty good bet.
All right. I'm taking the under 225.5 over at the Barstool Sportsbook. I'm banking on that Lakers defense and to kind of get Curry out of his game. As we saw last game, got 5 fouls. I think if he's in foul trouble, like we've seen a few times, oh man, that Warriors offense might be in a little bit of a world of hurt. Again, I'd love to back the Lakers here to close this one out, but just given the recency of how good the Warriors have been, particularly in the Chase Center, kind of talked me off of it. But I'm expecting a big defensive performance, which is what we've kind of seen the Lakers be able to do during the playoffs. So expecting a lot more of that, and very slight lean to the Lakers and to the Knicks tonight. Cheah, anything else you'd like to add before I bring in Mr. Chris Castellani?
I believe we are going to have a boosted play, Game 5 to stay alive, with both the Warriors and Knicks money line coupled with a couple of props. It's probably going to be pretty nice odds. So take a look at that for coming soon. to the Bet with Barstool section. Shout out to Rico Bosco for thinking of that.
Shout out to you, Cheah, coming in soaking wet, straight off the yak. As always, love having you on Money Shots. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.
All right, Chris Castellani, live from Chicago. I know I completely forgot. You told me last show. I texted you. I'm like, hey, you're good for today. So thank you for making some time for us. Talk some baseball. How was your Monday? How's Chicago been?
It's been great. The vibes are good here. It's a bit more full than usual. We got Carl back. We got Sydney Wells is in the building. So it's been fantastic. My Tigers just won. So everything's looking up right now in Chi-Town. It's great.
I love that. Have you been to Wrigley yet?
Yeah, we went a little bit last night, and then we're going again tonight for we have a barstool thing going on, and then Carl and I are going to be doing some content at Wrigley Field.
I love that for you guys. All right, you've got 3 plays. Well, technically 4, but 2 straight plays and a parlay over at the Barstool Sportsbook tonight. So we're just going to get into it. As everybody knows on Money Shots, I don't know that much about baseball. I have a couple of good friends that always love to help me along. So I'm going to let you take the reins here. We're going to start off first here with the Mariners. Tell me why you like this side and why you prefer the -1.5 plus 108 at the Barstool Sportsbook.
I like the plus money there. The short answer is I love Luis Castillo. I think he's one of the best, most underappreciated pitchers in baseball. He's going for the Mariners. You kind of read the tea leaves in the series. The Mariners have pitched really well through 2 games so far in the series. They've only allowed 2 runs. Now, one of those games they did lose, but either way, they're pitching really well lately. Mariners have been hot. On the other side, you have Dane Dunning, who's going for the Rangers. And I think when people look at the numbers, they might be more inclined to bet on Texas because he has been really good for them this season. But some of that is deceptive because he's starting this game. In his career, and primarily this season, he's been a reliever. As a reliever, he's excellent. In his career as a reliever, he's got a 1.93 ERA. Tonight, though, they're going to be expecting a little bit more length out of him as a starter. 4.37 ERA. So that's a massive, massive difference. So he's been good in small doses, which is typically what you get out of a reliever. But you have a guy who is going to be asked to give you more length than usual, going up against a starting pitcher that misses a lot of bats and has pitched really well in Seattle since being acquired by them. So that's the reasoning for play number 1.
All right, let's go on to your parlay. You got a couple K props.
Yeah.
Now, one of my best friends loves to get out these, and I text her. I said, hey, what do you think about Chris's K prop parlay? She goes, I love that he put 2 together to get everybody just a little tiny bit of plus money.
Yeah.
Plus 195. That's speaking my language, Chris. So let's go over both of those.
Well, that's why originally I just wanted to do Gausman on the over for strikeouts here, but I wasn't crazy about the value. And I really like Gausman's chances here because he's had 7 starts this year and he's had 2 bad starts, but they're like bizarre anomaly starts where he just didn't have it at all. One of those where when you look at the end of the season, you kind of just got to throw it in the trash because it's an outlier. Besides that, in the 5 other starts that he's had, the strikeouts, which are set at 6.5 tonight for both these guys, it went 7, 7, 11, 11, and 13 for strikeouts. So he's cleared it quite a bit multiple times. Zach Wheeler on the other end is just a pitcher I love. Seems to be one in the last couple of years that gets better as the season goes along. You're going to see a ton of fastballs, a ton of strikes. I expect, especially last night's game where you had Manoah versus Nola, it was an 8-4 game. I bet we're going to get a low scoring affair here with both these pitchers pitching relatively deep into the game. So I like the over props, and I put them together. You said plus 195 for over 6.5 for both Gausman and Wheeler tonight in Philadelphia.
Love that. All right, last but not least, and this is kind of where I get a little hung up when I bet baseball. I think part of me is a little risk adverse about certain money lines, and you and I have talked about that before. And so the easy answer is just to lay the 1.5. Now we know that since last few years with different rule changes, with extra inning changes, things like that, the 1.5 is becoming a little bit more prevalent. But I still am wondering why you want to lay in the 1.5 with the Astros at the Angels. We spoke about this series on Monday, and you said, Kelly, the Astros just own this Angels team.
Yeah.
And they do. And that just makes me a little weary here. So I want you to kind of go into it just a little bit more because the Angels did beat the Astros 6-4, and then the Astros won last night. Houston, again, is Houston. But right now it seems like they're kind of struggling a little bit, right?
Yeah. They have not been very Astros-like. Now, pitching injuries have had a lot to do with that. Framber Valdez pitched last night. He was fantastic. Outpitched Shohei Ohtani. Usually I'd be with you. Just it's kind of chalky, right? -1.5 for a team that's coming off of a World Series championship. The reason I went with it is because the Angels do not hit Christian Javier. We're talking about a team that has the 2 best players in the world. As a team, collectively, they are 5 for 44 against Javier. So, and last night as well, the Astros got a lot of length out of their starter. Framber Valdez went 8 innings, which means that even if Javier pitches well, you're going to have a bullpen that's really fresh. You have guys like, I know he's struggled this year, but like Montero and Abreu and Presley, guys who are capable of coming out of the pen, going 1, 2, 3, striking guys out. The Angels are one of those teams, we've talked about it on the Barstool Baseball Pod, where like so far this year, they've played good baseball. And yet I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop with them. Like they're going to be the last team I believe in because they've had Trout and Ohtani forever. And it just seems like they can't do anything with them. Last night they had Ohtani on the mound, couldn't get it done. I know at some point this summer, maybe even before the summer starts, the Astros are going to have that 6-1, 7-0 week where all of a sudden you look up the standings and they're 3 games up at first place. Maybe that started. They snapped a 3-game losing streak last night. I bet that continues. Javier, great numbers against the Angels, so I like them to come out on top -1.5.
All right, +130 if you lay the run line with the Astros. Chris, give me your, well, technically 4 plays, 2 sides and your parlay, and then let me know where you guys are going to be tonight in Chicago so that all the stoolies can come down and say hi to you and Carl.
I got to find it. When I find the exact place, I'm going to tweet out, but I know it's a rooftop bar in Wrigley. I'm not or near Wrigley. So I got to let several people know here, but when I find out the name of it, I'll definitely tweet it out, and we'll be at the game as well. I know me and Carl will be. I think Eddie and some of those guys are going to be coming as well. So it should be a grand old time.
Perfect. So we've got Mariners -1.5 +108 at the Barstool Sportsbook. Gausman, is that how you say it?
Gausman, yeah.
Gausman and Wheeler over 6.5 strikeouts parlay +195. And then Astros -1.5 +130 at the Barstool Sportsbook. Chris Castellani at Castellani 2014. I didn't write it down today, and I'm shocked I remember it. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow on Twitter so you can figure out where all the Barstool Chicago guys are going to be tonight after the game. Chris, are you going to have a bet while you're at?
I don't know.
I'll just throw something for fun.
If I do, I'll definitely make sure to add it to my tweet thread today. But yeah, I might do a little something. I'll have to look a bit more into the game, but I might do something that favors the Cubs tonight. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris. Appreciate you coming on last minute. I completely blew that and forgot you were in Chicago. I hope you have a great time. Tell everybody, including Miss Sydney Wells, that I love them dearly and I hope to see them soon. Thanks, Chris.